Well, we're going to move on to our next guest from Bulgaria, Dr. Adriana Petrova. Dr. Adriana, are you there? There she is. You're on.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ambassador Terry, and thank you very much to everyone. I believe this will be a hard session because our topic will be quite much, let's say, directly stressful, but I believe this shows the both parts of the life. I will talk a little bit about operational excellence, about the management aspects, and all that what will be shared comes from the experience. So I hope that it will be helpful. I hope that it will bring value in one or another context. And I would love to hear also your feedback in the end. Please let me know if you are able to see my screen, if it is visible, if it is audible.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, great. The topic that is selected will speak about the leadership. I believe every leader will need to find also the way how to balance their body and mind. And I was really very attracted to the previous presentation. But besides that, the reasoning for placing that leadership presentation today and that conversation is because me as first like professional, later like auditor in my educational path, I have been noticing that more or less the quality of our life, the quality of our work, the quality of our even well-being, professional and personal, is coming from the leaders which are around us. Some of the people say they are managers, and others say they are leaders. If they are excellent and know what they are doing, ideally, they are the leaders that every generation dreams to have in their path. So leadership as a development is basically a topic that nowadays is not only a modern subject, but it is a subject that comes to a need of the regulation, that is placed by different parts of the globe. And before I go forward, I would like to share that my experience is like operational management and leadership role for more than 10-15 years in the global scale. So all of that will be shared is also from different advantages, disadvantages of discussion and practices that are executed. The reasoning for placing this topic is that the globalization, I don't know if you're able to see also the header. I hope so, yeah. The reasoning for placing is that currently many organizations start talking about sustainability and about ESG. This nowadays sounds a very actual topic because basically the companies and the professionals start thinking not only for their contribution, but basically for their footprint, for what we leave behind us. And what we leave behind us, or what we leave behind us when we use services, when we use products, it matters. It matters because behind every product are not only the compliance with the legislation, but the waste that is generated, the efforts for the working process, like are they use children, is there the payment, is there the overtime in line with regulation and with the human lines. So that discussion goes even beyond the leadership. It goes in what we leave behind us and how we make the world better tomorrow for the next generation, which in the end, besides the profit, is also a human and society important topic. What is the context of the conversation today? The global dynamics, they press the organizations, they press the management, they press the companies. Basically, the expectations get higher. If we don't go in details about regulation, governance, the geopolitical aspects suppress a lot of organizations to change the direction, or at least to consider direction when they produce, when they sell, when they develop new products, services, or relationship. And the new paradigm which is placed here for attention is that right now we also want to make this connection point between the purpose, efficiency, and that what will bring the people behind us us and also for the people which are coming after us for years ahead. So the profitability is no longer the sole metric of the success. The management is not the only metric of the success. So right now, the real metric of the success is which are these roles which are evolving and which are helping the organizations to be strategic integrator. And meaning strategic integrator here is focused the attention on preventing risks, just in the organization for the next level, being compliant with the risks before they come, and being compliant with the governance, with sustainability, as they're not currently only side projects. Basically, in listening to different discussions, in reviewing different board reports, more and more the conversations start or end with the subject about sustainability. Even industries which are previously not affected by the sustainability in the core, like production, and I give example like tourism, right now, the middle into tourisms are also oriented how to make the business which they develop more contributing to the well-being of the society, more contributing to the environment, preventing the waste or not generating excessive waste. So basically that mix between the green element, sustainability, ESG, strategic integration, and profitability, because every company needs to have, of course, profit, makes the conversation so impactful because it links and gives this answer of how the efficiency gives the purpose to continue to lead and to develop. The world is definitely changing. Because even 5 years ago, if the production in one part of the world was completely different from another part of the world, and even if we were seeing photos of, let's say, production of textile in different continents, even not naming exact countries, they are like completely different realities. Right now, the globalization request from us, request from the business, request from the people who did the industry, the reality to be equal, which is very different, which is very difficult also, not only that is different, because still there are local realities, still there are different risks, still there are different normalities for certain countries that may need to take time to be synchronized, aligned, and giving the best for the global society, which is the final goal, and for the organization for bringing the profit, of course, being surviving through the years. I'm trying to make like that. Yes. Interesting element here is that organizations are no longer evaluated only by the profits. So in the past, organizations were purely devoted to the subject about reducing the cost, increasing the profits. But right now, this is not the only attention point. So basically, the attention points right now are also related to the stakeholder theory, which comes with the subject that right now investors, the founders, and the society as stakeholder, indirect financial stakeholder, but stakeholder expect the companies and the professionals to do something more beyond bringing just the pure profit. So that is where this discussion comes even more interesting, and there is a global, only for curiosity, which also shows the tendency, but there is a global trend of changing the boards. Many companies and many organizations start changing senior boards, are changing decision makers, because old models did not look to be working at a sufficient level that the globalizations and the current society expect to have. So now the business needs something more than just a profit. Talking about that and being proactive in the past, this is not a new theory, but there is a very famous subject about Lean and Six Sigma, like being operational excellence and being the backbone of the organization. In aiming to achieve that excellence that give us the recipe for no mistake, for no excessive movement, for no waste in the processes or in the production, that has been adopted back in the year from Toyota and has been extended afterwards. So it is a well-known in the engineering and production environment concept, which gives the advantages. But now that what basically comes and creates interesting development, interesting update, is how we correlate the well-known concept about the excellence with Six Sigma or lean management with the traditional management of a different executive level, and we bring it with sustainability and ethical governance and resilience. Why I mention ethical governance, it sounds like something very easy to be done. However, only in 2026, only for companies in Europe, fines for companies which produce or import articles only in Europe are above 7.6 million euro. And that is only fine for producing in unethical environment. And somebody will say, okay, but that is what is 7 million on the front of the global income or production or turnover. Yes, but that are only fines from ethical violation. So basically something easy like acting with a high moral compass, maybe not so easy for sustainable development, producing or at all doing the business of where we are currently. What is the insight of that conversation? The insight of that conversation is that the business being pressed by the governance, by the regulation, and by the selectiveness of the stakeholders and the society right now wants ethical results, not only profit, not only good product or good service, but a service that gives value for the society. How that correlates with internal planning of the companies or the experts at all. Basically, right now, that what is also important and challenging or a good innovation pillar is that the internal capabilities may be not sufficient. Right now, there is a good moment to be combined external capabilities, external expectations, and to stop behaving in the manner, but we do these things more than 20 years, why to change them now? I have been like being doing more than 1,000 factories for more than 10 years. One of the most frequent response of the people like a resistance is, yes, but I do that like more than 10 years in this way, why to change it? And the reason why to change it is because the environment changes. And if we didn't change and if we do the things in the old way, in some cases it may be good, but in some they needs to be refreshed, is basically that resource-based risk assessment, which to gives the distance of the company or the organization distance, and to make assessment, does the organization needs to have a different implementation of even competitive advantage. And here I'm giving a very famous topic for the AI. AI, even being rejected right now by a lot of organizations, has been part a lot of the life of a lot of people, professionals and organizations. So rejecting the changes of the globalization, which are affecting us, basically makes the organization or the professional being unsustainable and being unable to synchronize with that what the environment is synchronizing or pushing forward. So as a summary, the stakeholder theory, which was in the past purely focused on the profit, right now expect something more. Expect governance, expect commitment to ethical aspects, expect sustainability, expect development, and even the modern world updates. But I would say right now the audience, society is more comfortable in using services, in using products. So that is where the sensitivity of the managers also needs to be adjusted. I think here is, let me just, whoops, excuse me. Yes. On that slide, we will be talking about the conceptual framework of the success. Success sounds like something very simple when it is achieved, but basically behind almost every one of the success of the people or professionals or organizations is a lot of efforts. And talking about the framework, we can mention the mastering the capabilities to develop and to be able to develop of this portfolio which resist in changing environment, following the TIS framework. The next one is leveraging internal assets and adjusting them for competitive advantage. Why it is mentioned competitive advantage? Not for the reasoning to follow what the rest are doing, but definitely if we look at the sensitivity of what the rest are doing in the industry, we may become as organizations or as production units in a vacuum, so that our reality being unapplicable. The next one is balancing between the interest of all stakeholders. I'm just trying, yes, to being visible, the last word, because the interest usually of a founder, the interest of a CEO of a company, and the interest of employee in the same company may be different. But it's also good discussion of which is this crossing point between the interests of different stakeholders, because usually that is where the organization can benefit. Having a cross points where more stakeholders have the interest of something being developed means that there are more people, more discussions, more basically efforts, investment up to a certain point. That is the reason why in 2026 there is also an article that for USA, it is specifically for USA, but for USA, 60% of the boards of different companies from different industries says that they are lacking so modern called black swan analysis. So basically, the companies admit that they are lacking to be prepared for unexpected situations, and that is this gap where the interests or the discussions or the realities being viewed from different angle may be missing. The next discussion of framework comes with Womack and Jones. This is also not a new line. It talks about maximizing value by eliminating waste. And eliminating waste not only means to cut the cost, it means to be assessed what process, step, action, or line in our routine may not be working anymore. Because if it is not working anymore, it directly become a waste. And sometimes I hear in the auditing aspect and the life aspect, they say, yes, that actually 3 years ago. 3 years ago, maybe a middle term. So that is a good discussion. Do we really have analysis of our lines, flows, actions, and are they up to date? Do they need to be assessed in different, more critical or more refreshed eye? And following Goldratt concept, it speaks about identifying and overcoming bottlenecks. This is the theory of constraints. And up to now, I really didn't know for which didn't have bottlenecks. Probably there are organizations which did not have the time to map the bottlenecks, but not having the time to map the bottlenecks frequently also comes from the lack of ability to have sufficient distance and critical eye up to a certain point. Talking about lean and talking about the fundament in this conversation, the discussion goes imminently to the waste reduction and cycle time optimization, which literally gives us a very big portion of execution of the process with optimized supply chain, decarbonization, and higher transparency. Why we talk about optimization, decarbonization, and transparency in the same conversation? Again, this conversation is global, so I cannot focus on specific even continent, but the government and the frameworks has been pushing us to be adjusting our production or our businesses to follow the decarbonization, the green line aspects of the legislation. So as such, the production, the organizations are forced to do it. The easiest way optimization-wise is by reducing the waste and by optimization the cycle times, because each of these also is linked with the costs. So for being sure that our budget is following up to the most optimal way, one of the easiest suggestions is to be followed optimization of the cycle times plus waste reduction. what is evidence-based management? And here it is linked the engineering aspect of this conversation with the management aspect. Transition basically talks that in the past, the organizations are very much focused on the management, like using metrics, using KPIs, using targets, and less being focused over the proactive approach, less being focused over the human leadership as well. So that what is aimed with this conversation is to be implemented such system which basically prevent being passive or prevent being reactive in production environment, in management requirement. So setup of a system which allows the intuition to be at the level which to recognize the patterns before they create damage to the organization. I didn't go in details, being mindful of the time. However, the data being presented here and the consolidations are aspect of more than 30 countries observation and more than 15 years experience. So with respect to the time, that's what would like to highlight for the focus of organizations who are interested to think, to research, or to start integrating of these models. And the biggest question, what they will achieve if they even start taking a read on that aspect. Organizations will achieve efficiency, reduction of the waste. They will be implementing higher quality, strengthening organizational resilience, trust, transparency, and definitely resistance to trust. Something that the life shows test almost each year. The leadership being presented like architecture of resilience is the main motto of this conversation, because that is where the management is expected to take place. It is expected every leader, every manager behind the manager as a leader to build a level of resilience, which to be able to respond to the globalization versus local adaptability, because sometimes the companies are adapted for the country of not naming even a specific country. However, the company cannot survive in competition to the global market. Resilience is that ability which basically allows us to anticipate, not to react, because a reaction is already linked to damage. It's already linked to delay. It's already linked to cost. And it's something that the stakeholder didn't expect. Balancing all of these requirements and expectations is that what the leadership of the future is expected to have. And that's also into the focus of this conversation, is fostering a culture that views the change as a constant opportunity. There are still a lot of organizations which are feared from change, and for them the change is something that will bring unexpected, that they don't want to touch, they don't want to invite or to accept. We even have a situation which during audits, the employees in an organization says, we are glad that we have issues identified from outside because our management will never accept them if we tell that. That is important to listen and to listen to our systems, whatever we operate, and to be sure that the systems are available to resist on different shocks from different nature. Being system thinkers will allow us to have ethical decisions, to be strengthened management, and to have innovation, which to allows data-driven leadership. And all of these pillars are basically the ones that are identified like the leaders of the future, which are managers which will be able to resist organization and to bring it and to survive it through the different crises or even challenges. So that are the profile of the successful manager of the future. And talking for that, we also mentioned the empowering the human dimension, because technologies and processes are tools, but definitely people are that which engine the process, and definitely every employee must understand their role. Must apply the principles, first break all the rules. Why? Because sometimes if we didn't break the rules, we cannot invent something new and we cannot invent something better. So higher engagement, improve retention, and the future of the managers that is discussed in this presentation. Being close to the end, we talk about scaling impact, because that is something which every industry is right now surpassing the managers, like implementing ESG indicators into performance of the management systems with safe experimentation and learning from mistakes, not repeating them, and not being closed for innovation. And very quickly, I will go to a few barriers that every organization has to be sensitive for, about being sensitive to different short-term gains versus long-term cultural barriers, because in different countries also face something being normal for this country, but this is not completely normal for the industry or for the globalization expectation. And also how we overtake truth success from local and global level, how we integrate ESG at every process, and how it is creating that framework which creates resistance with measurable benefits for the stakeholder. Roadmap for managers. I go quickly, not to be too careful for the audience, but basically the roadmap for managers, like the action plan, will be to be integrated objectives, to be leveraged the next level using lean as a tool and sustainability, to be analyzed the process through evidence and approach using facts, figures, and statistics, to be done frequent measuring, and to be empowered the people. The last pillar is not very frequently used, but it is important the people to know that they have power. If we have decision, basically we cut the hand of the whole system to start be active and to bring value. Conclusion. Right now, the different C-level roles, the different management roles start being strategic integrators. So the leadership right now needs to have operational precisions with a very close intersection and collaboration with ethical aspects, with sustainability, with knowledge about global economy, and the success of the roles of the organization is a synergy between different departments. The future of the successful management and the successful organization will be this integration that allows the performance, the benefits to meet the purpose of the society, the purpose for the global stakeholders. Leadership is also a responsibility for future generations. So whatever we are doing, we have to be mindful that we have to also give example with our action. If there are any questions, I will be glad to discuss them, and thank you very much for your time.
Bravo.
Thank you.
This is American Sign Language for bravo or applause or whatever. That was delightful. Thank you, doctor. Very, very nice. Our